If you're giving up too soon, then you're probably giving up too soon. Okay? What I mean by that is if you give up before you really, truly catch on to what it is that this can and will do for you, well, guess what, folks? You're never going to fully realize the benefit of these things that could be a benefit to you.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
You know, it's funny, when you are a coach, a mentor of others, you forget that people get their information in various ways. Because I'm the one that puts out 99.9% of all the content out there. I'm involved in all of it, obviously. Podcasts and blogs and newsletters and the monthly meeting with the coach and the mastermind meetings and the all-star team and all of this stuff. And I was reminded this morning when one of my we were on an accountability meeting, actually, with one of my mastermind groups. Every 6 weeks, we meet together to follow up on the goals and to help them to kind of move to the next level. And we were on one of those meetings. And what I love about those meetings is it's not just me. Masterminds are so cool because it's not just me teaching. It's everybody in that room, and they really, truly get involved. And we were sitting there, and somebody was struggling with the mobile aspect of things. And another client said, well, why don't you just do Dustin's 10-house challenge? And he said, the what? He goes, the 10-house challenge. It's like one of the first things I learned about Dustin, the 10-house challenge. And folks, this was a blog I wrote forever ago. I mean, it's one of the first blogs I wrote. It's probably over a decade old at this point. In fact, I'm sure it's over a decade old at this point. And it's one of those things. It's referenced often. But this individual said, well, I don't read. I listen to his podcast, but I don't read. Well, I just realized I'd never done a podcast on the 10-house challenge. So, here we go. I want to pause here to remind you that we are sponsored by 3 great companies. One of them, of course, being OREP. OREP Insurance is the E&O that I use. And folks, I've tried a lot of them out there. I've been with various companies. I have never been with a company that I am more pleased with when it comes to error and omission insurance. Check them out, orep.org. That's OREP.org. We're sponsored, of course, by Alamode. Alamode software is the software that I use for my appraisals. It's as simple as that. I've tried so many. In fact, I've tried every major company out there, and not just tried, but used on a long-term basis. Now, I didn't necessarily subscribe, but let's just put it this way. I had an assistance business years ago where we assisted other appraisers with their various things. And one of the things we did was cater to whatever software that they used. And I have personally used it. And I'm telling you that Alamode is the best. It's alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. Finally, we are sponsored by DataMaster, saving appraisers lots and lots of time. We're talking about 30 minutes. Think about this, folks. Think of the volume you're doing right now and ask yourself, if you could save 30 minutes per report, would you? And what would that mean to you in your bottom line? Check it out. It's datamasterusa.com. Again, datamasterusa.com. All right, folks, let's talk about the 10-house challenge. Let me first set this up and talk a little bit about why this came about. Again, this was one of the first blogs. In fact, I looked it up as I was doing the sponsorship, and though I can't see the exact date that this was posted, the comments started coming in. Usually they come in on the day of the blog posting. Comments started coming in on the 18th of October 2012. Okay, so that tells you I mentioned before the break that it was probably at least 10 years old. It's not quite, but it's darn close. So a decade ago, I started teaching this idea of the 10-house challenge. And the reason I started teaching this idea is because I would run into some resistance when I would teach about changes. And I think you have that problem anyway, right? As a coach, I kind of take it on my shoulders to realize that I'm teaching things that are different. I teach things that are a challenge for people. I try to be an outside-the-box thinker, but I try to do it in a way that is smart. That I don't think outside the box just to think outside the box. In other words, I try to think outside the box in such a way that allows you to be more successful and better off at what you do. And sometimes, in fact, most times, that is met with resistance. And that's typical, right? Human beings don't like change. We don't. We like to do things the way that we have always done them, even if they're not the most efficient thing in the world. Think about it for yourself. You think about anything that you do that makes you think, I should probably change that. I should probably fill in the blank, right? We all have those things throughout the day. And frankly, it can be downright depressing when you think of the number of things that we quote unquote should change that we just have not done yet. And yet we continue to do things the way we've always done them. Why? Because change is hard and change is scary. And frankly, change and lack thereof sometimes is safe. And we like to stay safe. We like to stay in our bubble. We don't like to get outside that bubble because it's dangerous. Now, we all know that you can never progress unless you get outside the bubble. You can never progress and become better if you don't change the things that need to be improved upon. But that does not keep us from being fearful of the change. And it doesn't keep us, most of the time, from refusing to change. And it's not that we stomp our feet and say, I won't do it. It's just we don't. We don't do it. We don't do it for many, many reasons, and one of them being fear, and one of them just being that it takes effort and we're lazy. But the bottom line is any change comes with resistance. So let's bring this home. I have been preaching this idea of going mobile. It was one of the first real soapbox items, if you will, that I focused on in the very beginning of my coaching. It was low-hanging fruit, frankly. I would go to these conferences and I would stand before a group of 300 to 400 appraisers, and I would ask them, how many of you are using a laser measure? And about 10% of the room would raise their hand. And I would ask them, how many of you are using mobile or some type of a computer in the field? Now, this was before smartphones were really smart. And I can tell you, folks, that about 3% of the hands would go up. In other words, there was a lot of change that could occur. Now, when I go to these conferences and ask the same question, it's very close to, regarding lasers, it's close to 100%. I mean, we're talking 90, 95%. And when it comes to mobile, it's more like 80%, right? So 8 out of 10 hands are raised because people have caught on to this idea of change. Now, again, I was at a meeting this morning with mastermind students. This is Dream Team mastermind students, folks. These are the elite of the elite, right? These are the people that embrace change. They're there because they want to become better. And yet there were 2 people in that group that were not using mobile, and they were talking amongst themselves. And I was involved in that meeting. And of course, one says, "Well, I've tried it and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't speed the process." And of course, the comment from the other one was, "Well, you need to do Dustin's 10-house challenge." And folks, this is where this stemmed from: was this idea that people would try something new, and as they tried it, it did not make a difference, or it even had a negative impact. Let me state it this way. If you have been using a paper and pen for your inspections for 15 plus years, and someone says to you, why don't you try mobile, it's more efficient, you go out into the field and you try it a time or two, folks, it will slow you down. Why? Because it's different, it's new, it's not something you're used to. You're going to fumble around with it. You're not going to do things right. You're going to mess things up. And you're going to say to yourself, my hell, this isn't helping at all. I've done this thing for 15 years using my paper and pen. Throw this stupid tablet away. This doesn't help me at all. Well, this is what I was running into a decade ago when I was preaching the idea of change and challenge and technology and everything else. And one of the things that I came out with was the 10-house challenge. Let me share with you what that is when we get back from the break. First, I want to pause here and remind you that we're sponsored by 3 great companies, one of them being A La Mode. Again, folks, I've tried them all. A La Mode is the best. It's the most efficient, has the most tools. I was just on a staff meeting this morning where about 50% of that staff meeting was showing my staff shortcuts and ideas and things that they can be more efficient with Total. You cannot do that with the other folks out there, folks. alamode.com, 800 Alamode. Datamaster USA, datamasterusa.com. That's where you go to find out if Datamaster is in your MLS area. Check them out, folks. It will save you time. Speaking of technology that will improve your life, yes, it's a change. But guess what, folks? You're not going to have to enter all that data in anymore, saving yourself about 30 minutes per report. Datamasterusa.com, datamasterusa.com. Finally, OREP Insurance. Folks, OREP is the best. They really are. They really are, folks. I'm telling you, looking at the benefits that you can get through OREP will blow your mind because they're an E&O company. They shouldn't have to do all of that, and they don't. But they do it anyway. They don't have to do it, but they do it. Check them out. Check out all the wonderful benefits that you can get from your E&O company if it's with OREP, OREP.org. All right, folks, the 10-house challenge, that's what we're talking about today. What is it? Well, it's basically my attempt to say, don't give up too soon. And the reason this came about was I had multiple clients, some of them not maybe necessarily direct clients, but they heard a whatever. They heard a speech from me at a conference. And then I would get a note, an email, a Facebook posting who basically say, listen, Dustin, I get what you're saying. And it may work well for you, but I'm telling you, my laser's going up on the shelf. It's going to gather dust because this is not saving me any time. I'm very good with my 100-foot tape. I can do this. I don't need your stupid technology, right? Or maybe it has to do with their graph paper and their pencil, and they would maybe try it for a couple of times, and they would give it up. Now, I came up with an idea called the 10-house challenge, and the gist of it is this, folks. If you're giving up too soon, then you're probably giving up too soon. Okay? What I mean by that is if you give up before you really, truly catch on to what it is that this can and will do for you, well, guess what, folks? You're never going to fully realize the benefit of these things that could be a benefit to you. Now, I issued the 10-house challenge regarding, in fact, the name of the blog is the 10-house challenge : overcoming the difficulties in using mobile appraising tools. But that being said, this could be applied to anything, right? Any change in your life. It does not even have to be necessarily appraisal related. For example, getting a new VA, right? That can be a challenge in and of itself. It's not something that you've done in the past, getting somebody to help you in your office. Folks, you're going to fail. Now, I'm not suggesting that you hire 10 VAs, right? And then pick the one that sticks. What I'm saying is be prepared to fail and fail miserably whenever you make a change, right? The idea of the blog was about mobile. So let's take, for example, the laser. Let's make it very simple, okay? If you are used to using a roller or a 100-foot tape or whatever choice of tool, if you will, that you have had in your bag for many, many years, picking up the laser, and you're going to hear, oh, it's going to save you so much time. It's so much easier. You don't have to go behind bushes. You can just shoot up to the route. You can do all the, and you're going to hear all these wonderful things. Like, okay, fine. I'll pay the $500 and I'll buy a laser and I'll make it work, right? And you get out there, you finally try it, and I guarantee, folks, it's going to slow you down in the beginning. It's going to slow you down in the beginning. Notice that I paused there and I did not put a period at the end of that statement, because this is what most people do for themselves. This slows me down, period. Folks, it will slow you down in the beginning. The 10-house challenge basically looks like this. Give it the old college try. Now, if you truly, by the way, 10-house challenge has to be sequential. You cannot inspect a house a month, right, with your new laser and expect that to be the 10-house challenge. In other words, all of the inspections that you use are with your 100-foot tape except one per month. You will not catch on fast enough for it to make a difference. You have got to commit. You've got to burn the boats. You have got to say, okay, for the next 10 houses, I don't care how big, how small, I don't care what comes my way. I can't pick and choose. The next 10 houses, I am not going to pick up my 100-foot tape. I'm not going to pick up my measuring stick. I'm going to use the laser exclusively for the next 10 houses. And about the third or fourth house, you're going to run into a big monstrosity. You're going to say, maybe I had to go back. Nope. In fact, leave your 100-foot tape home. There's your burning the boats decision, right? Leave it home. For 10 houses. Now, here's what's going to happen, folks. And here's the reason I gave the 10-house challenge and not the 3-house challenge. It takes you about 2 to 3 houses doing something new to decide that maybe this is not going to work. Right? It takes about that many to realize. The first one you're going to say, yeah, it's new. Okay, it's new. Sure, the first one's, of course, going to take me longer. The second one, you're going to maybe say, well, okay, I should be learning some things at this point, but I mean, I am on to my second inspection. I should be getting it at this point, right? And then by the third house, you're going to give it up. By the third house, you're like, okay, I gave it the old college try. I really tried here, and it's not working. I've seen this happen 1,000 times, my friends. Okay, there's a reason that there is a 10-house challenge. Now, I want to make it very clear. You will not be proficient at using that laser or using the mobile tool or moving to total or whatever it is, whatever change you have in your business, you will not be proficient with 10 times. Okay, the 10-house challenge does not mean you're going to be an expert at the end of the 10 houses. What it does mean is at the end of the 10 houses, you are going to be convinced that this will be a good thing moving forward. You still may actually be taking longer to measure a house on number 9 or 10 than you did using your 100-foot tape. Let me repeat that. You may actually still be taking longer to measure a house after 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, okay? But by house number 8 or 9, you're going to finally see the light and say, okay, now I get it. Now, and I still need to practice, but now I understand that this can be a benefit in my life. By the way, folks, if you're not signed up for my free blog. It's Free. I invite you to go to theappraisercoach.com, put your name and address, email address in there, and you will get these blogs. In fact, you can go back to the archive. Just click on the little blog button at the top of the website, and you can go back to, in fact, type in the 10 House Challenge. You can read. In fact, I actually wrote two different 10 House Challenge blogs. You can read them both. Similar information, but a little bit different. Again, the 10 House Challenge. Sign up for my free blog, theappraisercoach.com.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.